And welcome back to another episode of the Diamonds and Duds podcast.
I am Ivan.
And I'm Charles.
We're brothers.
We are.
This is episode 4, Suburban Commando. When you last met us, we were watching an amazing movie called They Live.
Yeah. With Roddy Piper, old wrestler back in the day. So we thought, one sci-fi tinged movie with starring an 80s wrestler went well. Why not go to the well again?
There's probably multiples of these from the 80s, and why not go to the best, what some consider, maybe not nowadays, but what some consider the best wrestler of the 80s.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. Just ask him. He's the best wrestler. He probably could be a politician.
Just some background. Yeah, some background on Hulk Hogan. He was a wrestler in the 80s. He tried to do a lot of movies despite the fact that, he's bald and, has really long blonde hair, has a really distinctive look. But also one thing some people may not know, if they don't follow wrestling, may not know, is that he is the biggest liar on the planet. Like, just for example, a little story. There was a wrestler called Macho Man that he was, don't need to get into it. They were rivals. If you ever saw the Slim Jim commercials, he's there. That wrestler was a AAA baseball player for Rio before he went into wrestling. One of Hulk Hogan's famous lies is that he claimed that the New York Yankees wanted him to play in the AAA, which never happened. But he said that because Macho Man in real life played baseball at the minor league level. I don't know about AAA.
And one of the things I would say to do yourself a favor, and I forget if Charles showed this to me or if I showed it to Charles, but I want to say it's about a 30-minute video, roughly,
Jim Cornette, I think.
From Jim Cornette. That's just basically search Hulk Hogan lies Jim Cornette on YouTube. It will come up. It is you don't even have to be a wrestling fan. This is the most amazing 30 minutes you'll spend in your life.
Yeah. He claimed, like the really famous Oscar Mickey Rourke movie, The Wrestler, he claimed that he was the first choice to play the wrestler. He claimed that Metallica wanted him to be replacement bassist when Cliff Burton died. I mean, yeah. So
there's a lot of stuff on here. Suburban Commando. What's the synopsis of this show?
So an interstellar hero from a distant world visits Earth and tries to fit in with a mundane yet kind suburban family. Suburban Commando.
This was made in 1991, directed by Burt Kennedy. He seemed to be an old, 80s and prior TV director.
Yeah.
He did a lot of, I saw he did a giant chunk of Simon & Simon.
Yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was cool.
I thought this pretty much was the last thing he was allowed to direct, which I'm not surprised.
No.
One of the people that plays in this, Charles, I kind of hope you didn't see this. Shelley Duvall.
Yeah.
Okay. She has a Razzie nomination. Do you know what the Razzie nomination is for?
No, but I probably will have seen it.
Oh,
I wasn't the biggest
fan. I'll give you a hint. You have seen it, and it's one of your favorite things of all time.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, I'm curious.
The Shining.
Oh, yeah, I hate the movie.
Oh,
I love the book. I'm with Stephen King. I'm with Stephen King. I hate the movie.
See, I don't know much about this. All I did was I saw that The Shining got a Razzie, but apparently they took the Razzie away.
Yeah, it's the director was Kubrick. Basically, he kind of ruined her life. She left acting. A lot of traumatic from The Shining. But regardless, I hate The Shining movie, just like Stephen King. Love the book, hate the movie. I thought Jack Nicholson did terrible. Yes,
I'm going to try and this next thing I'm going to try and find. I didn't find these for our first few, but I was on IMDb and this stuck out to me. Just basically different. Actually, no, I was on Rotten Tomatoes, and I meant to do this for the last one. Is that this got a 15%, which I thought was rather high.
I'm surprised.
30% of fans liked it. Now,
a lot of Christopher Lloyd fans.
But also there were quotes by critics. Okay, this was my favorite one by one Roger Ebert. May he rest in peace.
He passed away a long time.
I'm horrible with that stuff. It was remembering that stuff. Roger Ebert's quote was, "By golly, by the time this movie was over, I was feeling tired of going to the movies."
That sums it up perfectly.
Yeah, and obviously you have Christopher Lloyd in this, who is coming off of the back. Obviously, at this point, Back to the Future was 6 or 7 years prior. He's on kind of a high from that.
Yeah.
The other thing I saw is that Christopher Lloyd apparently has 3 Emmys. Did you know that?
Really?
2 for
Taxi.
He has 2 for Taxi. He has 1 for a show I've never seen. I think you have. He won an Emmy for Avonlea.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I don't know.
I was a big Avonlea fan.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew of it. I don't remember if I watched it as a kid. I don't remember it. Yeah. But I was going through his awards, and I thought it was interesting that he had been.
Yeah, that is cool.
Okay.
Did you? There was one. There's another tip. Did you happen to click into the writer?
I think I don't remember much.
So the writer of this movie actually has another an actually surprising film credit. The writer of this movie also wrote Constantine, starring the Keanu Reeves 2005 movie. Yes, this writer wrote Constantine. I thought that was kind of amusing.
Yeah. This is completely off topic, and I'm going to forget parts of this, but did you see that the new Star Wars movie, they just announced the writer of it? It's a guy who wrote a giant chunk of Star Wars Rebels, which everybody's happy about. Yeah. Well, apparently he's written 2 movies before that are apparently just one of which was he wrote X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh god.
No, that's his better of his 2 movies. Yeah. He wrote the bad Fantastic Four movie. That's the guy. That's the I forget who the name of the person. Yeah. That's the person who's helming the next. Maybe I always hope stuff's good, and people like his Rebel stuff. So maybe that's.
Maybe his wheelhouse is Star Wars. Let's
and who knows with some of the superhero stuff. There's so many cooks in the kitchen, but I thought that was funny that the poor Star Wars fans oh yay another show. Shit. Okay. Yeah. This starts with a space battle. I think they're trying to be Star Wars 10 years later.
Oh, I like ripping off Star Wars in the first shot. It's roughly, not quite, but it's about 15 years after Star Wars. But this looks way shittier.
It's what if Star Wars didn't use little models, but used really shitty green screen at the time and mixed in models they bought from KB Toys.
Yeah, seriously. It just looked like absolute shit. Come on, guys. There's got to be a bare minimum here. We're not hitting it.
And it's you come across Hogan is supposed to get on this ship to save somebody.
Yeah, and his battle uniform, I don't really get how some of the useful. It doesn't really provide a whole lot of armor in a lot of areas.
And this is purely my guess is the point of that was to try and to have it be a little cheesy. At least I hope.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe they were thinking toy wise. I don't know. What I thought was really funny, and obviously this is part of Hogan's look, but I thought it was really funny. It's this big burly all American fighter guy, kind of thing. But he's bald, he has an old man bald.
Yeah.
Old man bald, long hair.
Yeah, and just if you've followed us before, we grew up wrestling fans, and just a sport, just a quick note of my background. As Ivan will tell you, when I was a kid and this came out, when I was a young kid, I'm not a Hogan fan anymore, but when I was a kid, I was just die-hard Hogan. I didn't remember much about this movie when we watched it, but I'll tell you right now, when I was a kid and this came out in '91, when I was about 10 years old, I was excited about this movie as when the goddamn Lord of the Rings came out, and that's kind of sad. But I was excited. Even 10-year-old me thought this movie sucked.
And I'll say that this movie's not great, but I think what they were going for was. What they were going for was for kids, I think. Yeah. Given that, we'll get to it, but I have a major problem with one scene if this was going for kids. Actually, now that I think about it, this scene is because it's what I thought was, okay, I'll say something positive about the movie.
Okay.
I thought that, my guess is, he wasn't, officially approved to do this or something, or else he would have just used his, his entrance music. I thought it was kind of funny they used 80s wrestling action movie entrance music for when Hulk Hogan appears on screen for the first time.
Yeah.
I'll say one good thing about this movie. I kind of liked it. I thought that was kind of funny. Maybe it wasn't intended to be funny, but I found it funny nonetheless.
Yeah. So first off, I thought it was like as I said, worst one-liners ever. As he's like finding his way to like where the president's being held hostage, and I have some things to say about that in a minute. Well, he passed by. There's like a display of like, are those skulls? Like, is that skull artwork? Like, what the hell? But I mean, this is a bad guy.
And one of the things we talked about in the last one is that Roddy Piper, and when we watched They Live, is that we talked about how Roddy Piper was not willing to sell, but then that fight scene he had with Keith David was so impressive. I watched this shortly after They Live, and one of the things I specifically wrote down is that Hulk's not capable of selling a hit.
Yeah, the fight choreography in this movie is so bad. Yeah. I mean, a 2-year-old could have written out better fight choreography than this. Oh my god!
And it gets to the point like he fights his way to the bridge or whatever they're going to call the bridge, and like he gets in a fight with some people on the bridge, and I thought what's really weird is the president throws like a cue card.
Yeah, it cuts off the hand of the bad guy.
It cuts off the hand of the bad guy, which
is it Gambit?
And the part and this was the first of many problems I had with this movie. Not the cue card, but what I'm about to say is that I forget something happened and the ship was gonna something happened on the bridge and like Hulk Hogan just fucking took off.
Yeah, exactly.
And he started planting bombs. But I wrote down, did Hulk Hogan just lead the president to die?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, did Hogan just abandon who he came to save? He sucks at this.
And then he blows up the ship, and I wrote, even if the president survived, Hulk Hogan just fucking killed him.
And then when he escapes in the ship, I'm like, he's traveling in a Pokeball, I guess.
Yeah, I wrote Hulk Hogan bad guy, question mark?
Yeah. And then he's talking about who I guess was his boss handler, gives him missions, and it's not. I'm like yes, it was his fault. The president died. It's directly his fault. He didn't even try. He's like, fuck it, I'm out of here.
Well, also to give the president credit, the president was capable. He cut off the arm of that guy
with a cue card.
With how he got a cue card. But the president was capable.
It was again. I one of many times I thought it was like, Jesus Christ, Hulk Hogan is one shitty actor. So then he's like, all right, he first of all he doesn't like. So first of all, his ship is so shitty that he pounds it and he pounds it in anger because there's nothing to kill, and he just breaks it. He breaks his shit because he's like, Urgh.
But I have a prediction on that. Is that maybe that wasn't supposed to happen, but Hulk Hogan actually raged because he was too stupid to say his lines. Yeah. The ship broke a little bit, and they just sort of went with it.
Yeah.
But
and so we get there. So then he's like, "Yeah, you go to Earth." And he's like, "I hate Earthlings," but they never really expand. They really set the tone early about how Hogan hates Earthlings, but they never follow up on how has he been to Earth? Has he just
not following up will be a running theme through this movie.
Yeah. So then we get to we get to the essentially the opening the credits now, and there's a song playing on the opening credits. And I'm like, is Hulk Hogan fucking singing the song on the goddamn... Sorry, there's going to be a lot of cussing in this one. On the goddamn credits? Was that Hogan's? That's one of the singers?
Did you look it up?
No,
it is him.
I knew that. I'm like, that's totally Hogan. I'm like, God damn it, Hogan.
I looked it up on Spotify because I was curious. Yeah. I didn't dare hit it because I didn't want it to show up in future plot of when Spotify was recommending stuff to me. I didn't want that to show up. But yeah.
Fair. So just interesting side note. Now the rights probably reverted back in the day, but but you can make it. You can make a very very loose argument. Okay, so those of you fans of the MCU, you can make an argument that Hulk Hogan's character is supposed to be like a superhero-ish and this kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, at the very least, like a Thor thing where he has extra because of the gravity or something. Yeah.
Like that. So I know the naming rights are gone, but Hulk Hogan, like for a long time, for almost his entire career, money from Hogan was going to Marvel because Hogan, like beginning on, Marvel's like, no Hulk. So like the deal was, Hulk Hogan could use the name. He could never wear green, could never say incredible, and Marvel got a piece. Now, I think the rights, that deal is right out. I think Hogan owns his own stuff. But, like, considering, like, so then Marvel has a little piece of the Hulk Hogan name, we could see the Suburban Commando in the MCU.
So you're saying that you're disappointed he didn't show up in Deadpool 3?
I'm not going to lie. That would have been funny. But even Deadpool would, yeah.
No. So at this point, we see the family also. We see Christopher Lloyd welding a skateboard together for some reason.
Yeah, I guess he he likes to make things, and then we get Shelley Duvall. I'm not the biggest Shelley Duvall fan.
To be honest, I know her name more than I know her work. Nothing again. Is she related to Robert Duvall? It's just sort of their last name. I wrote down two things, and this is going to be something. There's probably going to be a lot of cussing, and I don't know how appropriate this is going to be for kids. The one thing the first thing I wrote about Christopher Lloyd seems to be a pussy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too.
And part of me, the other thing I wrote is that wife is the boss, and it might, if this was written today, it might be a cuckold situation.
And then we get because we really get to introduce, like you said, to Christopher Lloyd. We see him at work, and we have the one person in this movie. Well, first of all, Larry Miller. That's a guy's name. Like if you follow movies for a while, you know him, even though you may not know his name.
You look him up. You know his face in a second.
So he's the only redeeming quality about this movie.
He tries his best.
Yeah, because he is fantastic. Because he played. There were other types of things that he played, but he was the best person in his time at playing like a smarmy, sleazy, like boss type person. And I will say he does a great job here. He does his Larry Miller thing. He knows this movie's shit, but you know what? He's like the seventh build person. He's not taking a hit on this.
No,
so he got his money. He's got his money. He's just going to do his best. And
if it ends up being a hit, cool. He knows he's probably going to be one of the better parts of it.
Yeah.
And if not, it's something he gets to write. Gets the fun stuff for a bit.
Yeah, so the spaceship. I'm like, gee, the spaceship landing effects are so great. Like, has Hogan's character ever landed this thing before? Like, he crashes in the middle of a warehouse, and like, surprised.
That's the thing. It's not a warehouse.
Yeah,
it's a nightclub.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I wrote down two things. Is that one, and this will come up later. Was there a hole in the roof of the nightclub that got his ship in there? But also, it was meant to be a comedic moment where a bunch of like 80s music, like dance music or whatever popped in. I didn't have a problem with the 80s dance music because that was what was going on at the time. I had a problem with on the dance floor there was 5 circuit breakers. Yeah. Why were there 5 circuit breakers? Because they made a big deal about him pulling the wires out, which probably would have started a fire.
Probably, yeah.
But why were there circuit breakers on the dance floor? I don't know.
Yeah, and then also, I find it hard to believe that no one saw that ship land like that in broad damn daylight.
This is another thing that makes me think maybe this was intended for a kid audience. They didn't sweat the small stuff almost to like a degree that no other movie has.
I mean, yeah, and that is definitely... I agree. All offense intended. They're just like, you know what? We're gonna put Hogan in the movie, and we're not gonna worry about.
He's not. They're like they write the script. They're like, shit, he's not capable much. So.
Yeah. So like, we're not gonna worry about things like plot, cohesion, logic, whether or not it makes making any sense. We're not gonna sweat any of those things.
And as he leaves there, he starts walking down a thing, and I thought it was really weird. They had like a 5-minute scene of people just making fun of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
which I appreciated because he should get made fun of. But that thing when he gets to the end of it there, and he switches the dog, and basically there's a dog in a car, and he switches the dog to like eat food in the restaurant, which was mildly fun. Which probably more funny at the thing I found weird was that thing that was on the dog's face. I don't know what the point of it was, because the dog was barking, but it seemed to be like this cage thing on his face.
Yeah, so
was
like,
that
it was
just
like
not letting
a
it?
very poorly designed muzzle.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe those were muzzles at the time or something like that. There was weird shit in the 80s.
Yeah, and like one thing I noticed, like during this extended scene, and it's a reoccurring theme throughout the movie, is that they couldn't figure out exactly what Hogan's intelligence level, because like remember, he's an interstellar traveler with a spaceship. I understand the fact that like there's going to be some things that he doesn't understand, but he's not. This isn't Encino Man. He's not a caveman, and they treat him like he has. Hogan may actually have an IQ of 5. He's playing a character that can pilot a spaceship. Okay. So he should be smart enough to know some of the damn things that he can't figure out. And
we then get to the family again, and Christopher Lloyd, it looks like, is trying to pull his car in now. And there's this ongoing joke about his neighbors. What I found, I have no problem with his neighbors doing like, muscle cars.
Yeah.
I found it weird that they were doing like
Formula One or
no,
what?
it was like top fuel drag cars.
Yeah.
Which my buddy JC and Brad would know way more about this, but I believe those are like those are like really expensive cars.
I bet. Another thing as we see, like again, one thing I was completely shocked because Christopher Lloyd gets home and his place has been turned. I'm like, wait, Shelley Duvall did all of that in one day?
Yeah, there's also where it was like not sweating the small stuff. It's
that's not small stuff.
Like, let's just say he had a normal 8-hour workday. In 8 hours, she turned the spare, what do you call it? Also, I don't know how that house would have enough room to have a completely spare house, but they turned the entire spare house into a spare bedroom. So not only did she move out all of his stuff, bought all new shit, put the shit in, and then put flyers all around town to like...
Damn, she's impressive. But also, so with the flyers, Hogan grabs one, looks at it, and that's what starts his journey. Starts his journey over there. So like again, he's not an Earthling. How can so they don't say, okay, so yeah, in many cases he acts like he has an IQ of 1 and he doesn't understand anything, but he knows enough to be able to read and be able to direct himself to find out where this apartment for rent is. So again, very inconsistent with the level of intelligence of Hogan.
Yeah, and the one thing it's obviously it wouldn't have been something funny then that we kind of skipped over is that you notice what Hulk Hogan's name was?
What was it?
Shep Ramsey.
Shep Ramsey.
Which obviously that sounds like Chef Ramsey.
Yeah.
Which I thought was I got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah. So and then so we go actually back out then into space.
Can I make one more point about the apartment? The other thing I wrote down.
Yeah.
How is Hulk paying for the apartment?
That's a fantastic question. I also
and again, I think this is part of, we're probably being too hard on some of this stuff because it's meant to be a kid's. I think it's probably meant to be a kid's movie.
But also, there's a certain baseline of intelligence that. But kids
also,
have.
I think this is part laziness because all you have to do is write one line.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do it for all of these, but I think this shows a trend where they just didn't care.
But also, Shelley Duvall literally just picked the first strange man that knocked on her door and said, "Hey, sure, you can live with us."
See, this is where I think it goes back to my cuckold theory.
So we go into space, and then we get the origin of another Hogan lie over the years. So we meet kind of the two of the bad guys. You see, they don't really speak. We'll get to that later. In the movie, but one of them, again, if you're a wrestling fan, is the person who would later go on to become the Undertaker. Yeah. He's one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. He's the one with the red hair because he was
this pre him being Undertaker at all?
Yes,
that's what.
By the time very close to, because by the time it released, because he debuted in the year of towards the end of 91, I think. He debuted at Survivor Series 91. So filming, no, he was wrestling, but he was not actually part of the WWE proper then. Hogan has at times taken credit for the career of The Undertaker, that he discovered him. Yeah, if you ask, I'm pretty sure that the Undertaker would disagree because he hates Hogan, or he doesn't. I know he doesn't respect him because just a wrestling thing. Hogan lied about something in a match they did that basically set Undertaker's career back by about 5 years.
Yeah, it's like, so we meet these guys. They're gonna come track him.
Yeah, and then we see like kind of some stuff like with Hogan. I think it's kind of the next day, right?
Yeah.
Like Hogan like interact a lot of Shelley Duvall stuff. Like just again the mailman comes. He pulls out Hogan pulls out a knife because he doesn't understand that thinks this person is trying to attack. I'm like, she really doesn't see the warning signs here?
Well, no, it seems like kind of like a bad 80s sitcom. It's like, oh, Shep, you don't kill the mailman.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's how it totally is.
And if that's delivered well, that could have worked in the right scenario, but yeah.
Not with
and then
Hogan.
They had the thing where she was watching, is this at the point where she was watching that, the, what do you call it, daytime TV and screaming?
Yeah.
Now, that also could have been a good scene if they expanded it.
Yeah.
What they should have done with that daytime talk show scene is gotten rid of the mailman part.
Yeah.
Then they should have shown, what they should have done is had a part where that is, okay? Yeah. Then you go to Christopher Lloyd doing something at work or something.
Yeah.
But then you come back and make sure it's clear that it's a decent time later. And you have him weigh into it.
Oh, yeah, totally. That would have made it so much better.
Yeah, you should have had Hulk Hogan weigh into it and like talking about it, and like you should have had him referencing that later.
Yeah, calling back to the daytime talk show.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree 100%. So then we also get we have Hogan with the kids on the skateboard. I'm like he does a pratfall on his butt. Like Hogan would probably tell you that he trained Tony Hawk himself.
He probably would, yeah.
So, and then there's a whole he moves he does some other things to help out. He moves the race car or whatever. I'm like, God, those thugs are wimps, and he saves the kid from the car. But did you notice that when he chases after that car, but he finds it right? He finds the car right away. It's because the car's speeding off. He goes through a couple of backyards and he's there.
Exactly, and it's like that car. It was way scary. I don't know. It was one of those things where I don't know why this what do you call it, neighborhood would have so many. Yeah.
Another underlying thing is Christopher Lloyd is becoming kind of suspicious of Mr. Hogan, and so he finds one of Hogan's weapons and shoots something, and that kind of starts the bounty hunters getting close to him.
Yeah, I think that signals something that they were able to find him. They were able to kind of track down where in the universe they were.
Yeah. So, and then Hogan's periodically going back to his his ship. And then I made a comment of okay, so he's in interstellar space travel, but a car alarm just kind of confuses the shit out of him.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, Jesus Christ, the goddamn mime.
The one thing they keep calling back to is this mime.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, every single time. The first time I'm like, I hope someone got their ass kicked for that mime joke.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping too.
Yeah, he got the ship from Dollar Tree, and then his spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then yeah. So and then I'm like, oh, and then Hogan he stops by the arcade, right? And then I'm like. Yeah, and he's finally and then he starts doing the shit. He starts attack, playing the game, and the arcade because Hogan's winning the game. Hogan the arcade.
He can't determine if it's actually a yeah.
Yeah, but also that the arcade itself, because Hogan was winning, the arcade starts smoking and sends out a Wi-Fi. I'm like, that's not how arcades work.
No, and I kind of wrote down that, hey, are the arcades sentient?
Yeah, exactly. Seriously.
Yeah, it's something I.
And then again, he's an interstellar fighter, not a caveman.
Yeah.
And then again, we have.
And we're back. I may have messed something up, and I got paranoid like a paranoid person.
But as we had just gotten finished talking about the arcade sequence in which Hogan won, he can't tell the difference between reality and fiction, and so he thought the arcade was a real fight. Again, he's a space traveler, and then when he started playing the game, it smoked and waved a white flag because that's how arcade machines work.
Yeah, because video games are crazy, and it's like, that was really bad. I think it was another one of those scenes that was kind of meant for, hey, this is what the kids do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why skateboards were in there at a couple points, and
and then we have another goddamn mime joke. I'm like, oh god, why is this a thing?
The one thing they keep going back to,
is the mime. Then kind of like, again, as he's doing things, Christopher Lloyd's found the ship now.
yes,
And he gets kind of armored up. And here's where there's a scene that I felt really, really didn't seem at place in a kids movie.
okay, and this is okay. We're on the same point here because this is the scene I kept talking about that I was talking about earlier a couple times. Yeah, there's two guys trying to rape somebody.
Yeah, and it's very very clear that this poor girl is attempted is going to get that's the idea. Christopher Lloyd saves the day,
and bluntly, I would have forgiven a lot of stuff in this movie if it was simply because kids movies are meant to be kids movies. You know what I mean? But by putting this in there, it makes me think that it wasn't intended to be a kids movie. And if this was meant to be a kids movie, I don't care if they call stuff back. I don't care if there's holes in the script. It might be funny, but if it's meant to be a kids movie, it's just meant to entertain kids. Yeah. You don't have a rape scene in a kids movie.
Exactly. I mean, seriously.
Should that be a T-shirt?
That'd be a good shirt. You don't have a rape scene in a kids movie. That's our first shirt, everybody. That's going to be our first shirt. So then, again, we have more Hogan not understanding. So there's a little girl in the, oh, my cat. I mean, that poor cat as a cat owner. I'm like, man, dick move. I mean, but this movie is a mess of dumb fish out of the water bits. Is what it is.
It is, and is this the point? And we're kind of losing our way here, but is this the point where they're also trying? At this point, the guys had come. Like they're trying to track down. And the other thing I wrote down is, why does Christopher Lloyd have a tracking device for this stuff in his glove box?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Because they pulled out the Ghostbusters EK meter.
Yeah,
and they're like, hey, let's find it. But like Hulk Hogan simply goes into Christopher Lloyd's glove box and pulls it out.
Yeah, again, it makes no damn sense. Yeah, because now the bounty hunters are here. Christopher Lloyd and Hogan are, they're tag teaming up. And so they're going to try to find the item because Christopher Lloyd left a weapon behind that the two attempted rapists are now using.
Yeah, and so they have that scene at the bank where they freeze everybody, which is okay, I guess. But then it starts kind of one of the mini fight scenes as we're going through this movie.
Yeah, well, but even so, I don't know if you noticed, but they entered the bank, and they use this freeze thing. But you notice there's like 40 people frozen, but none of them are frozen where they're trying to leave. It's like they very clearly show this is a one shot at a time thing. But like everybody's frozen as if they were just going about their daily business. So like either they got these shots off insanely quickly, or everybody was very, very nice and just stayed put and allowed themselves to be.
See, frozen. And this is one of the things where it felt like as they did this, they just didn't care a whole lot because I think you're supposed to have like people on set that are responsible. Like for example, let's say. Actor A is wearing a red shirt in some scene. You have people that are meant to be like the people that make sure everything is congruent throughout the whole thing. And it felt like they didn't have those people here. Agreed. Because it and we've never been in the movie, but it seemed, my understanding is there's people like, so and so was wearing a hat this scene. We need to make sure they're wearing a hat as we're filming the other part of that scene 3 weeks from now. We need to make sure Brad Pitt is still wearing that hat, or he always eats stuff. So make sure Brad Pitt's still eating this other stuff as we're filming the other side of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it felt like they just didn't have any of those people.
Exactly. Continuity, schmontinuity. Also, like, then, you know, there's a fight scene going on, and they try to spray Hogan, and it's like, Hogan, like, antifreeze. And I'm like, you know, if that's the kind of thing, there's certain things, like, I don't believe in violence, personally, but like I said, there's certain things in sports where, like, the response, the consequence should be in front of a national audience, like the helmet gets taped off and you get slapped across the face in front of the nation. That's the kind of thing. Whoever wrote that just needs to be slapped across the face in front of everybody on set and then just made fun of to the point of bawling their eyes out and going home. Antifreeze? Come on, people.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, hey, and bluntly at this point in the movie, I kept hitting pause to see, okay, how much is left.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I'm like, and guess what we got? We had mine bit number 3.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's like, of all the things they call, like, they have so much shit in this movie, they could have, like, we already talked about it, but if they had called back stuff like the TV scene or like stuff, there's stuff they could have called back. It just seems like they did. They're like, okay, we're contractually obligated at this point to make this movie, so let's just let's just do this.
Let's just get it done. So they kind of have like the last kind of big bit of the movie is they're trying to get the stuff to Power Hogan's ship, and they go to like the event for Christopher Lloyd's work.
And where did they get suits?
That's a good question, especially when we're like, we don't know where they got suits. You know, Hogan gets cockblocked by Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, and is this around the time when Hulk Hogan takes off Christopher Lloyd's door?
Yeah. That happened right at the end of the robbing part.
Okay.
Robber scene.
The part I found weird about that is I have no problem if Hulk Hogan thinks that's how you need to get into a car. I have no problem with that. But he opened his door normally.
Yeah, he's just being an asshole.
Yes.
You know, he's just being an asshole. So, like, you know, we have another ship, right? Again, it's another Dollar Tree bargain bin ship. You know, even Larry Miller's even good in this shit. He's trying to polish this turd as best as he can. You know, he's schmoozing those, you know, the Japanese investors who think he's an idiot.
But I appreciated the fact that they put that in there, that the Japanese, you know, investors were not buying any of this at all.
Yeah, agreed whatsoever. And then it goes like, so they're doing all this, you know, I'm like, and then like there's a big fight scene between the two bounty hunters. And I'm like, oh, poor Mark Calloway, the Undertaker, being saddled with like, yeah, I get to talk, but yeah, it's not you. It's going to be like a 5-year-old girl spoken like a chipmunk.
Do you know what's important about that, Charles?
Huh.
I found this out from, I think it was, what's the name of the guy who was in Alias, who turned out to be a big star?
Yeah, the guy.
Brad something.
Yeah.
I think he was the person who said this, is that in order to be on the what do you call it, Screen Actors Guild list, you need to have a speaking part.
Oh, so that's
because there's a couple of times where he was in a movie like as an extra, where he tried to sneak in a speaking part to get his acting credit. By them doing that, I wonder if he actually got to appear, like got his Screen Actors Guild card, because he does not actually speak this entire movie.
That's a good thing, and I don't think he ever really saw, not to my knowledge, I don't think he ever really Undertaker ever really did any acting. You know.
Yeah, I might be misremembering. It was something I saw. It might be something I saw on TikTok. Some actor was saying like.
They talked about that on the Viva La Dirt League.
Yeah, I just don't remember if it was Bradley Cooper. I don't remember if it was Bradley Cooper or if it was, you know, someone else. I just remember seeing that because there was some part where wherever they were in, they had like they were pouring drinks for somebody and they tried to sneak in. Is that all you need? As they were a waiter, and they about fucking got fired off the movie for adding that.
And that's definitely a thing because on the Viva La Dirt League podcast when it was shortly on, like because they had been actors. Rowan had talked about how he used to try to do that all the time. And he at times where he tried to do that, I think a couple times on the set of Avatar when he was an extra, and that it didn't go over well at all. So again, there's a fight scene again, very very poorly choreographed. It goes to Shelley Duvall right before she gets killed. But she seemed very unconcerned about having a missing husband who's never came home.
Well, the other thing I put in this is like at a certain point I put Shelley Duvall and kids still in movie ?
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, yeah, these kids. I'm not bagging on their acting talent or anything like that. They just they had nothing to do. They were just there.
It was like, hey, they should probably have kids.
Yeah, exactly. They were they didn't show anything about the relationship with Christopher Lloyd because sometimes there's the kids there's not connecting because dad's a bit of a bit of a pussy. But there's just those kids are just
and there was funny stuff, especially with Shelley Duvall. They could have expanded, the fact that she was dominating him, at the very beginning of the movie, where she put him in a headlock and say, "Hey, you're going to
you're gonna ask for a raise."
And I think if they had pushed that, it would have been funny. If they had pushed stuff like Hulk Hogan watching the daytime show, that would have been funny. It's just it seems like they didn't know what they wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so big dastardly villain who surprise reveal he didn't die. He kidnaps the family and then forces Christopher Lloyd to lead him to Hogan's ship. And then Hogan agrees, all right, just let him go. Then you can do what you want with me. So, the villain lets them all go. They leave. Hogan still has his gun trained on the guy, and Hogan drops it. He didn't need to drop his gun there.
Okay. No, he didn't. I have something also. Is that in the following things happened in 3 minutes, Charles.
Yeah.
Okay. They had a fight scene between Hulk Hogan and the other guy. Christopher Lloyd then leaves with his family. They pull up to a convenience store. He lets the family out. He then drives back, and they have another fight scene. All before the 3 minutes is up and the ship blows up.
And first of all, why did Hogan set? What part of his plan was? I don't really get
what I
setting
thought.
the thing.
What I assumed was going to happen is that Hulk Hogan was going to try. I think he thought maybe the guy wanted to get off world or something, and I thought he was going to trick the guy to get into his ship and take off, and then the ship blows up.
But the guy's flown in space too. He has a ship that's identical. He's going to see right there playing his game that the self-destruct sequence is on. He's going to be like, click, it's off.
Oh,
not very well thought.
Wasn't the other point before we wrap up that I wanted to mention was that I found very disturbing for a kids movie is I have Christopher Lloyd rips General's nuts off ?
Yeah.
Because if we call back to the point where the president cuts the guy's arm off and the arm turns into a alien thing.
Yeah.
I think Christopher Lloyd rips this guy's nuts off and then he turns into an alien from his nuts.
It looks like Creature from the Black Lagoon too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, good guys save the day, whatever. We have a callback to the skateboard thing. Beginning where, again, this time, Hogan, does well. But then, apparently he's been carrying around a skateboard in the back. He skateboards in space now? You can have more.
It was at this point that it had completely lost me.
Yeah. And then, Hogan leaves, the last shot of the movie is, that traffic stop, light stop where, kept on getting Christopher Lloyd the entire thing. And so he had apparently kept a gun, which wouldn't that attract more bounty hunters or something? I don't know. But the thing I mentioned, when he blows away the light, wouldn't that be just an insanely major traffic violation and insanely unsafe? That traffic light was there for a reason.
But that reminds me of a part I meant to call out before, because this is a callback to his previous one. You notice when they were doing the drag stuff, Charles, they weren't at a red light.
Yeah.
They were at a green light, but also they were way far back from the green light.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't get that whatsoever.
This was a movie.
It was. Was this a diamond or a dud for you?
This was a dud that nobody should ever watch.
Yeah. What rating level?
So I forget, is
1 to 5. I mean,
one is one closer to diamond, or is
no? Basically, it's watchability as a dud. So basically, a one dud is I want to claw my eyes out. This isn't even funny bad.
One.
Yeah, it was like that for me too. Whereas our previous dud that we did was in episode 1 The Dark Crystal. I think we both kind of gave that one a 3. Because despite the fact that we felt it was a bad movie, that it didn't age well, there were some funny, entertaining things about it. This is just this is just shit. Yeah. So, the higher a dud is, that's more like, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So, and follow us next time, where it's going to be for our Christmas episode. We wanted to do something Christmas with sci-fi, which, surprise, surprise, there's not a whole lot. Let us know if you know of any others we should touch. We're doing Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yep. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah, and for this one also, if you do want to watch it, there's 2 ways you can watch it. One is simply on YouTube because it's so old. And the other thing is, any of you Mystery Science Theater fans, they did one on this once upon a time. So,
I have a feeling I might know which side this is going to end up being on, but we'll find out next time. Tune in as we talk about it.
Thanks. Have a good one.